My sister's fiancé belittled me at dinner. Everyone laughed. I didn't snap back. Instead, I calmly pulled out my phone. His grin faded immediately. My sister's fiancé raised his wine glass, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Some of us have real careers, and some of us play with computers in our bedrooms." The table exploded in laughter. My mother smirked. My sister didn't correct him. I didn't say a word. I just reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and watched his grin slowly die. He had no idea what I knew. If you've ever been underestimated, laughed at, treated like you were less than, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in, because sometimes the quietest person in the room isn't weak. They're just waiting. I've always been the unfinished project of my family. My mom believes in appearances more than oxygen. In her world, you don't solve problems. You hide them behind polished countertops and staged Christmas photos. My sister Sophia learned early: smile wide, speak confidently, never let anyone see the cracks. And then there's me. I'm 29, quiet, introverted. I don't perform well at dinner parties. I don't boast. I don't compete. But 3 years ago, I built a tech startup from my apartment. Sleepless nights, instant ramen dinners, code bleeding into sunrise. Last year, we crossed 7 figures in revenue. My family still calls it your little app thing. I stopped correcting them, because correcting them never mattered. Chad was polished, the kind of guy who shakes your hand too firmly, who calls everyone buddy, who talks about the grind but smells like inherited money. He worked in private finance, drove a car that cost more than my first 2 years of revenue, wore watches that silently screamed insecurity. My mom adored him instantly. "He's stable," she'd whisper to relatives. Stable. Like I was a flickering light bulb. At first, I ignored it. Sophia seemed happy, or at least the version of happy she performed so well. But something about Chad felt off, too smooth, too rehearsed. He asked too many questions about my company. Revenue streams, investor structure, tax handling, not curious questions, calculating ones. The night everything snapped was a celebratory engagement dinner at my parents' house. Candles lit, crystal glasses out, my mom wearing the pearls she only uses when she wants to impress herself. Chad was in rare form. He dominated the table, stories about closing deals, subtle name drops, casual belittling disguised as humor. Then he turned to me. "So, James," he said, swirling his wine, "are you still doing that coding thing?" I nodded. "Yeah, we expanded into enterprise tools this year." He chuckled. Actually chuckled. "That's cute, but real business is about people skills, relationships, not hiding behind screens." The table laughed. I felt the heat crawl up my neck. My fork paused midair. He leaned back. "What's your company valued at anyway, or is it still hypothetical?" My mother sighed. "Chad's just teasing." Sophia didn't look at me. And that's when I realized something. They didn't see me, not really. To them, I was the awkward brother still figuring it out, not the one quietly building something real. I could have listed numbers, could have mentioned the acquisition offer I declined, could have shut him up instantly. Instead, I smiled and I reached for my phone, because 2 weeks earlier, curiosity had led me somewhere interesting. Chad had bragged one night about managing exclusive offshore portfolios. Something in the way he said it stuck with me. So I did what I do best. I researched public records, corporate filings, shell companies connected to his name. It didn't take long. The private investment firm he worked for, under investigation, several client complaints buried in legal databases. But the real gem, a side entity registered under his initials, moving funds between accounts in patterns that screamed embezzlement, sloppy, arrogant, and illegal. I didn't jump to conclusions. I verified twice, then I sat on it, because I'm patient. When I pulled out my phone that night, Chad's smirk didn't fade yet. He thought I was checking crypto prices or something. I simply said, "You're right, Chad. Real business is about transparency." He laughed. "Exactly." I locked eyes with him, especially when handling other people's money. There it was, the flicker, small, quick, but I saw it. He swallowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I tilted my head. "Nothing, just agreeing." And I put my phone away. The rest of dinner felt different. He was quieter, more watchful. He knew. He didn't know what I knew, but he knew I knew something. I didn't plan to ruin the wedding. I told myself I wouldn't. But the weeks leading up to it were unbearable. Chad grew bolder, subtle digs, comments about real men providing stability, jokes about my risky internet income. My mother repeated them. Sophia laughed along, and I realized something painful. If I stayed silent forever, this would never stop. The wedding was extravagant, gold accents, string quartet, champagne flowing like denial. During the reception, Chad gave a speech. He talked about legacy, about integrity, about building a future on trust. I almost admired the audacity. Then he decided to add one more joke. Even James showed up, he grinned, took a break from hacking and hoodies. The crowd laughed again, and something inside me went still. Not angry, not explosive, just done. When the microphone was passed for family speeches, I stood, heart steady, hands calm. I congratulated them, spoke about love, partnership. Then I said, Chad's right about one thing, integrity matters. The room quieted. I pulled out my phone, hooked it to the projector. A screen lit up behind me, public filings, transaction trails, highlighted transfers. Murmurs spread across the hall, and I kept my voice level. These are documents from the SEC database and corporate registry. They show fund transfers from client accounts into a private shell company registered under Chad's initials. Gasps. Sophia stood up. James, what are you doing? I didn't look at her. I looked at Chad. His face had drained of color. Care to explain? I asked softly. He stepped forward, forced laugh. This is ridiculous. You don't understand finance. I swiped to the next slide. Highlighted dates matching reported client losses. Silence heavy, suffocating. His jaw tightened. That's confidential data. No, I replied. It's public. Phones started coming out. Guests whispering. Someone muttered the word fraud. Chad lunged toward the projector cable. Too late. The damage was done. Sophia was crying. My mother looked at me like I'd detonated a bomb in her living room. But here's the thing. I didn't expose him out of jealousy. I exposed him because no one should build a marriage on a lie. And I was tired of being the family's punching bag while they worshipped a fraud. Security escorted Chad outside after shouting turned into accusations. The reception dissolved into chaos. I placed the microphone back in its stand. No dramatic exit line, no shouting. I just walked out. Cool night air hit my face. For the first time in years, I could breathe. The last thing I saw before leaving was Chad standing alone near the parking lot, phone pressed to his ear, panic finally cracking his polished exterior. No smirk, no confidence, just fear. The same kind he'd tried to make me feel for years. And in that moment, I didn't feel triumphant, I felt free. I didn't answer my family's calls, didn't defend myself, didn't argue. Weeks passed. I worked, slept, breathed. One afternoon, a plain envelope arrived. No note, just a formal wedding photo. Chad cropped out, Sophia standing alone. I stared at it for a long time. Then I slid it into a drawer. Some relationships survive truth, some don't, and that's okay. Because peace isn't about being accepted by people committed to misunderstanding you. It's about walking away from rooms where you were never truly seen. Sometimes revenge isn't loud, it isn't violent, it isn't cruel. Sometimes it's just the truth, revealed at the right moment, and sometimes the quiet one at the table isn't weak. He's just waiting for the perfect time to speak. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell me in the comments. Have you ever been underestimated and proved everyone wrong? Subscribe for more stories where karma isn't rushed. It's earned. And remember, never mock the quiet one with receipts.